And I don't even really want to talk about antibody activation because it's pretty bad.
Are you sure about that?
I jumped the gun a little bit about Jill's potential. If you watched my first impressions video on her, you may remember me saying that antibody activation was the least impressive hero art she has. Well, the new expansion has definitely changed my mind, and today I'll show you the deck that convinced me I was wrong. Antibody activation is pretty simple. It costs 15 AP to give 1 unit +1/+3 and shield as long as you've explored 3 or more times. Now when Jill first came out, we didn't have many explore cards and this was tough to pull off, but Day of Nightmares gave us plenty of cards to close that gap. Here's my take on the deck's matchups. On the whole, Jill has favorable matchups against most of the other heroes. She's about even with most of Ryu's options, Chun-Li using Yeon and others. Where she has a more difficult time keeping up is Rathalos and to a lesser extent, Wesker. They are winnable games, but prepare for uphill battles. Many of the cards in this mono red deck are new to the deck guide series, plus there are a lot of explorables, so let's take a look. Guile and the new Leon Kennedy are explore units that trigger when they die. Leon gets you a fighting spirit, which is 2 MP for +2/+2 to 1 unit. Guile gives you detonation, which is 2 MP for 6 damage to 1 unit. Mikhail Victor and the new Carlos explore when they hit the board. Mikhail gives you ammo, which is 1 MP for 2 attack, and Carlos gives you the red version of wall jump, which gives 1 unit shield for 1 MP. Brought to Light and Bashin Ryu Awakening are very similar, 1 AP to activate a unit's explore. Bashin Ryu is better because the explored card will cost 1 MP less. There are a few cards that have stronger effects if you've explored 3 or more times. Claire Redfield is a 3 MP for a 3/1 that deals 6 damage to the unit in front of her if you meet that condition. Unleashed gives 2 attack to a unit and flight if the condition is met. And Nash is a 4 MP cost 1/5 with combo that gains +2/+4 if you meet the requirements. Since you have high health units, you can make use of some red removal. A Noble Death is 1 MP to deal 3 damage to a friendly unit and 4 damage to a random enemy unit. Mutual Destruction is 2 MP to deal 5 damage to a friendly unit and 5 damage to a random enemy unit. Spread Shot is 2 MP for 3 damage split among enemy units. Dmitry Maximov is great here, 5 MP for 1/5 with Rush, and if you've explored 3 or more times, he gains 1 attack for each explorer. Plus he's got Victory to gain 2 HP. Fate Defying Ryu is also a great choice because of how many actions are in this deck. And Teostra Infernal King is a 7 cost 3/7 with agility. His Victory explores a supernova. That's 3 MP to deal 8 damage to all units except for Teostra. Another great card for this deck is the legendary Jill. She actually makes the Ryu and Wesker matchups better for you because she has Veil. I'd run it if I had it, so if you do, take out a Leon to make some room. I'm choosing to show 2 Wesker matches in particular, and that's because Wesker is super popular. He's arguably the strongest hero in the meta right now, so it's important to know what your options are against him. So understand the importance of Jill using this deck is you want to get your explores out as fast as you can. So basically you want to do anything you can to hit that 3 explore mark. That's why I'm throwing Leon Kennedy out here. Totally fine if he dies. So right away, I'm going to go ahead and throw out that this is a mistake. I did not mean to spread shot, and it actually gets Leon killed, which is really unfortunate. But we actually do Brought to Light here, which gets us an extra explore, and actually the spread shot will now hit some of these zombies. So, you know, we didn't really get punished too bad for that mistake. My finger actually misclicked there. I was pretty salty about it. So he's got a full board, but we're not super worried about it because we are about to hit our explore threshold here. So we're going to throw out Guile because he's really good. Detonation is a great card to explore for. It's super cheap. So right now we're just kind of waiting for our opportunities. He throws out a Tyrant. So we don't get the detonation here, which is kind of unfortunate, but the explore still counts. So we definitely met our 3 explore threshold. So now we can really make use of Nash, who is fantastic in this deck, really doing some work, especially when he hits that threshold. If you don't meet that condition, he's not as good, but he's very strong otherwise. So out comes Devil Joe. And we're going to actually do antibody activation to keep our Nash alive. So the Ouroboros dies. Now, it'll be coming back because he's only 2 AP away, but that's fine. So we're going to clear our EX pocket here, which actually does prompt to give him a rebirth, but ultimately that's okay. Not that big of a deal. So we buff up our Nash just a little bit to the point where Nash is going to be able to strike down this Ouroboros Devil Joe. And here comes the second one. So this is where things get a little messy, but try to follow along here. So a noble death coming in for Leon Kennedy against the weaker Devil Joe. He mad massacres. So in response to that, I activate a spread shot to try to prevent that. And then he cleans it up with murderous spikes on that Leon Kennedy. So all that's going to resolve in that order. Feel free to slow down this part if you need to. But kind of what it results in is only 2 units really being traded here. So at the end of the day, we're actually okay. We have the advantage here. We have way more resources to work with, and plus Claire is going to pop this Devil Joe like it's nothing. He throws out a Tyrant, which clears the Nash, so the board slate is pretty much wiped clean, but we're ahead of him in terms of resources and value. I know Wesker gets a lot from his revenge units, but we're doing okay. We're just kind of waiting to see what he's going to do. So he doesn't really do anything, and I want to get cards out. So we play Carlos, don't get the shield, but that's okay. But I do make the decision to clear the EX pocket, put a fighting spirit on there, make Carlos a little bit bigger of a threat. And now we're just waiting because we have Claire on deck for 6 damage if we need it. Antibody activation's there, and Fate Defying Ryu, which Fate Defying Ryu is so strong in his current state because of the amount of actions that are in this deck. So as you'll see here in just a second, first off, we throw antibody activation onto Carlos so he can live and pop this Tyrant. The scary Tyrant comes out, but we do not care about that at all. So he's going to rebirth and get another Devil Joe, which is fine. So it's another fighting spirit onto Carlos. It's free. So he's now at 8/8, so he's not even going to sweat that Devil Joe. Fate Defying Ryu comes out to deal some massive damage and pop that Tyrant at the top of the screen. At this point, it's not really a race he can win, and we close out that game. Ryu is also another really popular choice right now. Ryu is kind of always going to be there because he's got some pretty decent matchups against at least half of the cast. So part of the problem is that he's got a lot of easy ways to remove your units, but that's fine because a lot of them trigger on death. So we have great ways to get some Explorer done here. So we're going to drop Carlos. We draw into Dimitri. So we're just going to kind of wait and see what he does. So he throws out Lady just to pop Carlos, which in my opinion is a misplay because he had to use more resources to get that done. Throw another Carlos up top to get our second Explorer, which is totally fine. We're going to shield this Carlos, which will actually give us an opportunity to Bashinryu Awakening here if we need to. I'm not going to do it at this moment in time because we're pretty okay. We're going to wait and see if we can find something else to give us better value for that. Ideally would be a Leon or a Guile, but we'll see. So these 2 units are going to fight up there up top. I tried to be quick and get a spread shot off to pop that Lady, but he actually dropped BB Hood just a little bit faster than I could. So not the ideal play there. You want to be a little bit faster. I was a little sluggish, a little slow on the draw there. So he's got more units on the board, but that is not a big deal. So we're going to be looking to make use of some of our units here. And it's unfortunate that we don't meet that condition to get Nash out there to his full potential. So Dimitri comes out, it immediately gets Shinku'd, which I expected, and that's fine because we have Mikhail on deck to get us our 3rd Explorer. I threw him down on the bottom. He throws out another Lady to pop Mikhail, which in my opinion is another big misplay. And just being inside this player's head right now, you know he thinks he's ahead because he's got a very generous life lead, but he's expended a lot of his big resources, and I'm going to start exponentially rising a lot farther than he is. So he throws out Dragon Lord's Judgment, and I'm not even going to sweat that because I'm just going to shield Nash. There's nothing he can do about it. So he just wasted 5 MP on nothing and gets no value out of it. And we've still got a monster in Nash. And guess what? We got another Nash on deck. So we're in terrific shape now, even though we do not have the life lead. We've got some very scary units on the board. We've got Mikhail coming up and ways to prompt more attack point boosts. So out comes Neon Tiger, and I just want to fly over this big boy. So we're going to throw out Unleashed to make this Nash fly, and he's going to hit hard. Out comes Dual Dragon Hado, but since Nash is going to die here, make the decision to throw out Mutual Destruction on him to deal some decent damage to this Neon Tiger, because he was going to die anyway, which is fine. And actually our unit is out of range for Shinku Hadouken. So that Nash is chilling comfortably right now. And with antibody activation on deck, it's actually really, really beneficial for us. So we throw out Mikhail to get some more Explorer. Nash continues cleaning up with those somersaults and some big damage. He throws out BB Hood, but it doesn't really matter at this point. We're going to throw antibody activation because one thing you really want to do with this deck is spread out your threats. You don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket, especially up against Wesker and Ryu that have a lot of hard removal. You want to spread out your threats so they have to make decisions, and you're not left riding their coattails just because they popped your one big unit, which, as you can see, Nash dies. Mikhail's just kind of chilling there. He's kind of beefy. He throws out Volvidon, but we have Teostra on deck, and Teostra is heavily destructive if you get that Supernova. So we throw out Teostra. He's coming in quick. Activate Bashinryu Awakening because we can get a cheap Supernova. This is just in case. And then we have antibody activation on deck. We're going to throw it out there just to be on the safe side, but he doesn't really have any options at this point. So Teostra is actually going to close out this game. So it looked like Ryu was running away with that for a little bit, but a couple of big misplays really cost him there. Here's another Wesker matchup. This one's against Dark Destruction, which is very concerning for you because Dark Destruction targets almost every unit in this deck. So one thing you need to keep in mind is you just need to be really liberal with throwing your units out there, especially Guile and Leon, who are going to get their Explorers even if they die. It does not matter. So again, our game plan, we want to get 3 Explorers as quickly as we can, and we have the right tools to do it. So we've got the Guile up top. He throws out a unit, which I expected him to do. So at the last second, we are going to Bashinryu Awakening on this Guile because we want 2 detonations, because detonation is a great card, super cheap for the amount of damage that it does, especially at 1 cost with the Bashinryu Awakening. So we've got a lot of tools to do a lot of good work here. We are going to choose to detonate the middle unit there because I don't even want to deal with it, and we've got cheap detonations. So first detonate goes off, clearing off that unit, paving the way for us to throw down Carlos, and that gets our 3rd Explorer. So we're in great shape, and by playing Carlos, we drew into a Nash, which is fantastic because Nash does work for this deck. So Carlos clears off that top unit. He drops down a Cerberus, probably a little bit too early in my mind. So Nash is just kind of waiting on deck. We throw it on Nash, and we're going to use antibody activation, but not on Nash. We're going to throw it on Carlos because, as I said earlier, when you spread out your threats, especially against Wesker with Dark Destruction, make him make tough decisions on what he's going to remove, will really put you in an advantageous spot. So he is going to Destructive Instinct my Nash, and I don't really have anything I can do about it because even if I shield, this is a destroy effect, which goes through shields. So we're going to choose to throw the shield on Carlos because it's free. It's going to clear out our pocket. Yes, Carlos is inevitably going to get Darkness Destruction here in just a moment, but what can we really do? And if we clear out our pocket, it was free. Give us more room for new resources. So Carlos goes bye-bye. We have a little bit of a life lead. Board is wiped, essentially. I think we have MP advantage here. So now we're just kind of waiting to see what he does, but the inevitable next play is Guile, and we're just going to kind of wait, and we're going to react to what he does. Claire's on deck to deal big damage if she needs to. He throws out a unit, and I am just a hair too slow on throwing out the detonation. I had my finger hovering above it in anticipation of a unit, but I was just slightly too slow. So Guile loses 2 HP. Again, just like I said earlier, you want to be super, super tight with your reaction times if you can. I'm going to throw out the second Guile to get some detonations here, and he's going to throw out Spreading Infection, which is to be expected. And because we have the free MP and we have a lot of MP to spend, we're actually going to choose to throw out Unleashed on one of our Guiles, which will give him flying and will allow him to pop one of these zombies straight away. No, it's only costing us 1 actual MP in the long run, and we get a little bit closer to antibody, so it's a good decision. Now Claire drops up top to deal 6 damage because it'll clear the path. We get the middle lanes are getting ready to trade, and out comes Cruelty, which is a card you won't see a whole lot of, but basically he wants to beef up the zombie to be able to rival my Guile. We decide to throw out Brought to Light to get detonation from Guile, which is good, and then he uses the free MP to do Gathering Effluvium to get rid of Claire, which we are going to ultimately let go because there's nothing we can really do about it. So antibody activation is ready. His zombie on the bottom is a little bit stronger. We're going to choose to protect our Guile and keep him living. So Guile gets to live a little bit longer. Dark Destruction is essentially on deck. So we are just trying to do our best to spread out our threats here. So we're going to use Spread Shot. We're going to get rid of that last zombie. We have a detonation on deck. We're in great shape right now. So the Guile makes his connection, and then out comes there, and I actually get the timing on that Vial Mark II right there with that detonation at the last second. That is the kind of timing you want to shoot for. That kind of timing is really what's going to help you climb the ranked ladder. So this Wesker is in trouble. We've got a lot of answers for just about anything he chooses to do. He's kind of waiting on Dark Destruction here. So we activate Bashinryu Awakening just as a precaution to get a cheap detonation, and he chooses to Corrosion to get rid of it too. So actually we only get 1 detonation there, but it's not a big deal. So he actually misses the timing on Dark Destruction and takes 4 extra damage for that. So that's unfortunate for him. And he is in really, really rough shape. I mean, look at this. Look at this man. So we throw out Leon Kennedy because we're in great shape. Next is inevitably Dimitri because I'm trying to make him choose between the 2 lanes to deal out that final hit. It connects and we close out the match. I hope this deck encourages you to give Jill a second chance if you weren't happy with how she stacked up on release. So what deck do you want to see me cover next? Keep dropping those suggestions in the comments and on Twitter. You guys are fantastic. Good luck on the grind. We'll see you next time.